hug game here is so strong.
And I'm like, I have a Halloween cup because I'm right on time.
Oh,
Mine's like very practical. It's like too practical.
my Sedona. Welcome from Sedona. Yeah.
Oh, cute.
Well, hello.
Greetings.
Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Welcome to the gun show. No, we're going to be laughing a lot today, most likely.
Yeah. A lot of joy, apparently.
Yes.
Laughter is the best medicine.
You know what it is? I know exactly what it is.
What is it?
Whatever was going on for the last like month and a half, 2 months, lifted at exactly like 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time Wednesday night, because I was driving home from our farm and I was playing music, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in such a great mood. I feel so good. And then I'm like, I feel like myself. I haven't felt like this for like 2 months. Like, where's this been? And like some huge shift, and a bunch of garbage just lifted, and maybe, you know what? Laughing is the way that we're processing it. Like, what a joy.
I will say that was a big full moon that we just had in Leo. That's a playful energy.
That was very, very big.
It was some BDE, that full moon. And for me, it didn't feel heavy like a full moon, like you're saying. It felt, I don't know, more playful. Maybe that's why we're giggling. But I did return from the Conscious Life Expo on that day-ish. So
Yes, would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
good question. I thought you'd never ask. Yeah, very interesting. It does bring something to my awareness in terms of dealing with a lot of energies and a lot of people, and how to like sort of claim your space and set boundaries and to find yourself within all of that fun chaos. It really is an exceptional event that they put on, because where are you going to find like literally, and Bob, you've been there, 3 levels of a hotel completely taken over by the woo-woo. And so you've got everything under the sun. You've got, secret space program stuff, seances. You've got yogis, you've got consciousness. There was someone there channeling neutral reptilian draconians. There was someone there sharing ecstatic orgasm frequency, which I do have footage of if anyone wants to see that, because I was very curious. And there were all kinds of things.
Can you demonstrate?
Wow, that is crazy.
Something like this is what I saw, and lots of sounds. And in fact, the neighbor room was like, what on earth is going on in there?
Wow.
It was a lot. So it was like, yeah, it was a latte.
Aquarius is here.
Yeah, exactly. So it was an interesting mix of things. And day 1, day 2, you could kind of still hold your own. And I still feel like I did well throughout, but it's just so much energy in this space. And so I, being someone who has a lot of water energy in my chart, we can tend to be very spongy. And so I eventually become my environment. And so that was, it took some recovery just to find me again. Like, no good or bad. There's not, it's all fun to me now at this point where I am in my consciousness. It's all the spectrums, which in fact was one of the cards that keeps coming up when I pull. Color spectrums, self-expression, movement, letting out emotions. So all the spectrums to me are interesting, and there's something to learn from. And I love bumping into all kinds of people and where they're at, but how to find me again. So I'm still, thank you, because seeing y'all is like, okay, this is my baseline, my people, my tribe, but clearing and keeping just getting back to my own frequency has been an interesting journey. So,
well, thank you for going and shining the light and clearing that space.
Thank
as
you.
you always do. So thank you.
Thank you. It was it was very interesting, fun, exciting. It was all the things. It was all the things.
Full
It was
spectrum.
all the things. All right. You know, I'm also in event. I was in events. I mean, I guess I still am part of the year. And in my experience, you see people for who they truly are when they're at an event because they are dealing with time management and stress and, you know, hopefully joy. But when people are pushed to their test zones, that's when you really see who they are, huh? And you're behind the scenes working with all the stars.
That is fascinating. And that is such a huge wisdom nugget. Thank you for that. Yes. Everything from the background to the people who, what channel they come in on when they enter the space and
Mhm.
how they deal with change on a dime. I mean, it was, yeah. Some of it looked a bit like Halloween, and
Mhm.
then other parts looked really elegant in the reflection of people. You are so right about that.
Yeah, I try hard not to decide who somebody is based on, like, yeah. Well, because like you'll see an event planner, outside of work, and they're like fantastic, they're great, and that's what you expect, and then you get to the event, and you're just like, whoa, what happened? Like it's okay.
Bridezilla. Good point.
Yeah,
Like Bridezilla,
yeah,
that's when you end up seeing
yeah,
what you are about to sign off on when they're
yeah,
in a stress mode. Interesting.
Hey, I
yeah.
have a
So
question.
hopefully it was positive, though. I'm not trying to bring up the negative. I'm sorry, Barb. Please continue.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just had this thought that did you, because you've been to a lot of conscious life expos, Shauna. So you've kind of worked it forever. So was there anybody that you met this year that you think is like an up and comer or somebody that is just maybe new on the horizon? You have any vibes about that? Or maybe somebody that's just like really is like your big takeaway?
Mm. It's a great question, and I wish I could speak more to that because I essentially work and I don't get to see very much. So the way I saw the orgasms was that it was filmed and it was sent to me privately. That's how I got to experience that. Bashar did come. He's a biggie. For some reason, I'm not super attracted to his channel, but a lot of people are. So there was like a stampede of
Yeah.
that. So there's clearly a lot of people who are still in resonance or, enjoying that experience and his transmission. For me, I guess what I get the most out of it is when I was planted in the VIP room, which everyone is an important person, but people paid to feel extra, to have some zhuzh. And it was interesting in my experience just to observe people and what speakers maybe have some amazing intel, but aren't, to me, didn't feel like just sort of kind, graceful.
Yeah.
Kind of fail at the human part.
That seems to be the thing, It's like a lot of these people are just bringing this information, but then they're not really embodying any of it. And so you have to be careful with those frequencies and even what they're bringing in, right? Like consciously aware of.
100%, Amber. Exactly. And so for me, that is the baseline and the telltale for me. I don't really care what you channel. How are you as a human being? How do you treat people? And if you're not even at that level of awareness, I'm not interested. So there was, it was interesting to navigate that. But I guess there's something for everyone, at the buffet line here.
That's right. It's just an amusement park called Earth. Whatever you want to experience, you may experience. Just remember, it's your choice.
Exactly.
You have the choice in every moment.
Oh my God, I just saw you like in a robe and you're guiding people like they're about to go into their incarnation. Remember, you have a choice.
Don't forget. Become aware of your thoughts, your consciousness, your unconsciousness.
Absolutely. And I wanted to pose this question as well. Is anyone seeing things, and I ask because of the Virgo Pisces eclipse energy that we're in right now. and sort of oscillating between these two signs that are very different and very important. I think one of the most important areas to really find a balance in, because they're so different. So it really is an invitation to come into balance with these energies. But there is some connection to health and to mental health. Is anyone, and it's not just this position, there's also other astrological components. Is anyone seeing like some mental health snaps, or some people feeling challenged, or have you experienced challenge with like sort of any sort of mental health things going on?
Have you watched TV lately? I'm just saying. I don't want to point fingers, but I'm like, wow. There's a lot of unhingedness.
So the word.
Oh my goodness. I mean, and again, I don't watch like regular TV. I just watch Telegram just to see with all the changes happening on the planet right now, even politically around the world. Natalie was just telling our little friend from France, she was talking about what's happening even there, that people are just uprising and just this energy and this emotion where, I think what has been hidden is now being revealed, and people are really having a lot of trouble with that. So that's my perspective on that. It's just been very blatant, like, sending heart.
So I totally agree with that. Where we are in that frequency of really coming to a state where a lot is being revealed, and it can be deeply uncomfortable, and it can be like cognitive dissonance. I don't want to look at it. And it can be also like rupturing your mind and where you're at. So I know I'm just personally experiencing this with people kind of around me, and even my own days where I feel very, I do need to, I think in general, I'm kind of grounded. I have some earth energy, but I'm some days really needing to ground, because I feel very stretched in terms of where I want to sort of swim out in the cosmos, and also where I'm like, I need to get things done and be here.
The Virgo energy is like, for me, I felt like it's like the self-criticism, like, and then discernment, right? So it's like you can pick and choose what, you can just use it for the discernment, or you can, tap into that self-critic. And I feel like the same, like, I'm like, I have all this to share with the world, and it's like, how do I even like just pinpoint it to one thing and focus on that and be like, this is who I am and how I can be of a service, and it's like that dreamer energy, and also creating the new earth within my mind. I'm always doing that, right? And just sending energy to that. But it's like, and then it's like me stepping out finally on the platform and being like seen and heard, and out from the Pluto shadow, and like, but with the self-critics, like, it's like, and so I'm having to get rid of the self-critic while navigating this new experience, because I feel like I do feel like I'm being rebirthed into something I don't even know what it is yet, right? It's like, it's every day we're just opening up more and more, our lights being activated more and more, and it's like more and more downloads and energy frequency from source, and it's just like, it's a lot to manage. It's like yesterday I was completely exhausted. Like after the full moon, it just like wiped me out. I had to take a nap. I was like, I even got like super emotional, and it's just like navigating all these frequencies. And I can only imagine, like, I'm aware of what's happening, and imagine what other people, like you're saying, like in the collective, and Barb, you were saying, like, just turn on the and you'll see it. Let the darkness be seen, guys. And we're not going to be a part of that. We're going to be here with each other, creating the new.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think that's so valid. It's like, how do I organize all of the cosmos within me? How do I like organize? And it's a stretch. That's why I'm like more and more, and I know you are resident Pisces here. It's like more and more, I just feel like this is something that we're being invited to master, because it is such a stretch. Like, what a contrast to be all the way out there to then like, what does the body need? Like, how do we hold this energy? How do we practically do it?
at least we're getting support finally with RFK being sworn in yesterday and the fluoride being removed from the water. That's coming, chemicals out of our food, pushing
It's all
away from
happening.
big pharma. So everyone asks, how do I connect with my abilities? How do I bring in more magic? Clean yourself up, and so we're getting support. So that's going to help.
Everybody. Yeah, finally. Like people need to be educated on the truth.
Well, we all do it as our own personal practice, and that's why we are where we are now, feeling better, and we've been able to raise our vibration and our frequency, and it's a lot of work, but now at least we won't be fighting against the majority, who's refusing to do the work or whatever. I don't know. That's not even where I tap in anymore, but I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful but okay, think about this. With the fluoride being removed from the water, people are going to experience their pineal gland like being decalcified, and there's going to be it won't happen right away, but there is going to be a huge shift towards transformation and increasing your consciousness and awareness. That'll make things easier.
Especially for the kids.
Poisoned, that'll help.
The new generation. It's finally we're finally able to help the kids, and that's what.
Well, and that shows that we won. Yeah, it shows that we won, like good overpowered evil here, like where they're removing something that should have never been happening. The waste from steel and aluminum production being dropped into our water, like whoever thought that was the side effect that
like world, get ready, because you have no idea what's about to be revealed, but it's all good. It seems like a lot. It seems like there's so much darkness, but remember, this has all been going on, and now it's finally the light's being shown on it, and it's going to be transmuted and transformed into something new, and that's what we're here to
currently do. Booking sessions. If anyone,
they're gonna be needing it. People gonna be needing it, and truly. And I'd love if we could all go around and just mention, like, kind of to put things in perspective for people, when you woke up and like kind of how long your healing journey has been, because it's not like a light switch. It is there's a quickening, because the more of us do it, the easier it gets, and it opens up, and etc. But I would love to just put that in perspective for people, because it's not an overnight thing. And so it's taken a lot of work and time and tenacity and dark nights of the butthole. I think Rion says it like that, to get here. So Barb, I'm going to invite you to go first.
Yeah.
Sure. So I, probably 1998. I actually moved to Arizona in 95. And that was my first thing. I knew I had to be here to just kind of align and shift. And so I did this whole huge, like ahead of my time thing. It was just before 2001 where 9/11 happened. I opened up this healing spa and just had all these cool things, which now I look at, yes, that's in perfect alignment. It makes sense. Back then it was like ahead of its time. And it was interesting because I went through a lot of self-criticism, a lot of self-doubt, and a lot of things. I shut it down, went back to my regular 3D job. Thank goodness it was there, and it was offered back to me. But it was probably 2011 that I started to come back online and go, okay, no, this is, I'm not going to do that anymore. And I started seeing some, I was just shown things at a certain hospital that I worked at that is a very large part of pharma. And I started to see through the cracks and go, oh my gosh, this is what that is. I can't be a part of it. So for me, it was like 2011. And then just fun since then. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's been good. It's been great.
It's been so fun.
I'm fine. I'm good.
Kimberly?
Yeah. Well, I think all of us, anyone watching, all of us can genuinely say, when you look back to your childhood, there was magic, and like, I'm sure all of us I'll make I statements now, but I was always attracted to tarot cards, to art, woo art, fantasy. I loved the Dark Crystal and Legend and Labyrinth, and like all that stuff was a huge draw for me. But when I always think, oh yeah, it was like when I really, really, really started to comprehend what was happening was in like 2018, 2019. But like Barb said, around like 2011, 2012, things started to change. I started to astral travel in my dreams, but I didn't realize it was astral traveling yet. I was just waking up from these really intense, very realistic dreams. And specifically one I remember, I woke up really unnerved because the last thing I remember, I was looking at the beach at night, but I was looking up from a height. So I'm looking down at the water and I can see the sand, kind of over there. So my perspective was like I was hovering over the water. And I knew that I had been speaking to a being, and I knew that she was a female, but I couldn't really remember what she looked like. But when I woke up, I sat up and I was like, I was just on a UFO or a spaceship, and it felt so real. And it was like I couldn't even go right back to sleep. Now it would still probably feel a little weird, but at least I would recognize and not be as afraid. But like I knew that something changed. And then I remember when I first heard the term starseed, like for the first time, my friend had brought a psychic to her house, and we all went in and had our own little sessions, and she told me some cool stuff. But she's like, "Oh, you're a starseed," and I went back and I had to look that up, and then I started looking up like star races, and all of that was an introduction. So I think it's when I started pulling that information in, was it gave me this really good basis, and that was probably like between 2016 and 2018. And then 2020, I just booked a bunch of sessions with some really good people, responsible people in this community, and I never looked back. Yeah. So, but since 2022 until now, 2022 was like the biggest year of my life. That's when all of my light language kicked in, and I received the violet flame. I had all these really intense experiences, like physical experiences. And I had a session with Case. And then I think, is that when we all started? Was that 2022? No, we started our Enlighten Up Media in 2023. Yeah. Yeah. So that was, sorry.
No, don't apologize. It's an amazing journey. And you bring up a good point too, that I'm sure a lot of us, if we look back, can connect with, like, it's always been a common thread in life, spirituality or openness to or old soul or whatever it is, since the beginning.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I went to a spiritualist church where they gave readings at the end, and that started like in 4th grade, and I never questioned that. But it was such a normal church like segregation, or like it was run the way a church normally would be, with songs and topics and things, and then they would do energy healing in the beginning, and then they would give messages at the end. So I've always been very aware of this, which is still so surprising to me that it took this long for all of my abilities to like really kick in. Like this has been my life for a very long time, but it seemed kind of in the norm still, and then in the last 3 years, I have really, really just taken it to another level. But that comes with removing things, like getting rid of all the stuff that's in the way, and healing trauma and doing your shadow work. And we're so tired of saying that, but and that looks different for everyone. But we all know right from wrong, and when you start always picking right instead of taking the easy way out or pushing something away, and the more that you remove from your environment and your body, and the more you cleanse yourself, everyone's multidimensional. Like everyone can do what I do if they want to. You kind of we receive gifts that we don't expect, and then we can also pursue abilities, that if that's our thing.
Right. You bring up a good point on, I think of healing and integration. And so it's one thing to read it in a book, hear about it, watch a thing and be like, I know it, it's there. But healing is its own process that's connected to this. And then integrating the information and then embodiment. So it's a process. Amber, when did it start ish for you?
I think that since birth, you know, I always knew that I always felt out of place and like I didn't belong here, you know, and it was almost like I was always connected to that I am within me. But then the environment around me was so chaotic. And it was just like, and I was so sensitive that it was just took everything I had to kind of shield myself, I guess, from the world and the environment. And so, you know, and through that, you know, I had a lot of experiences in childhood that, you know, you could call traumatic or whatever, but it caused me a lot of physical issues, right? So by the time I was 11, maybe, I used to have migraines. I used to have terrible migraines because my parents would fight a lot and the environment was just super toxic. And so I didn't, you know, I would probably not want to think about it or try to constantly, you know, keep myself away from that energy, which would cause the migraines. And so my mom was into crystals, and my mom was always on a spiritual journey. I didn't know it at the time, you know, but looking back, she was always seeking the truth. And she would take me to the swap meet, and there would be like this people selling crystals, and I just loved it, you know, and I was just so like connected to that energy and thought it was so magical. And so when I would have the migraines, my mom would give me amethyst and I would put it under my pillow, and that's how I would get rid of the migraines. And so then, you know, teenage years went on and more traumatic things happened, and I just shut down even more. And then I ended up getting endometriosis. And so that ended up putting me on, you know, my healing journey. And so that's kind of like, and it took me till I was, we'll say it till I was 36, is in 2016 is when I finally was like, you know, I was working in the hospital. I was aware that the vaccines were making people sick at that point. You know, it was making me sick. I noticed every time I would get a vaccine, because we were mandated to get vaccines, I would get sick, you know, and then those around me would get sick every time, you know, we would get vaccinated. And me being as sensitive as I am, right, of course, my body's going to definitely react to that and try and purge it out. And so just through working in the hospital as a CAT scan technician, you know, I just saw all the darkness of and the corruptedness of the medical system and how it's all just about money, and there's really nothing there that can help you, unfortunately, unless it's an emergency situation, a trauma, car accident, you know, aneurysms, heart attacks, brain aneurysms. That's, you know, emergency medicine. But the rest of it, it's all just to keep you sick. And so I started wakening up to that. You know, that was say 2011 is when I got into the medical system, 2009. And then I started just, you know, waking up more and more and more to all the corruption. And then I didn't watch news or any of that. I stayed out of politics and all that kind of stuff, but I could see what in my environment was, you know, that mostly. And so in 2013, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. And then I was at that point, I tried to use the system to help me because I didn't know what that even was or, you know, how to deal with it. And so I was just in excruciating pain all the time. Like I would do like 150 x-rays a day and I'm standing there just like dying. And I'm just like, what is wrong with me? You know, and it was because I was in an environment that my body was like, no, this is not where you're supposed to be, right? Like now I know if I were to listen to my body, and start actually paying attention to what it's trying to tell me, because our bodies are our biggest spiritual tool, our energy tool, we're conduits of creator, and we have to use this as our navigation tool through this. And so I eventually learned how to, so I went through this medical system and had surgery, and that's the way that you can get diagnosed with, the only way to get diagnosed with endometriosis. And anyways, that didn't work. And I just had a horrible experience with that. And so then I was like, all right, I have to figure out how to heal myself, because the Western medicine is not the way, and so then I went on that journey of just trying to figure out how to heal myself. And I knew there was something within me that knew that I could do it myself, that I didn't need anything from the outside. I just had to figure it out, integrate, like you said. I had to integrate my life experiences, so at that point, I ended up meeting Jay in 2016, and he did Reiki, and I met him in the hospital. And then we got together, went to Sedona, got Reiki attuned. And then after that, it was just, on like just all the truth of everything that's happening in the world started coming to me, and all these realizations, and aliens, and other dimensional beings, and this and that. And like at first, people are like, what? No, it's scary, whatever, like it doesn't resonate. But it's like, if you integrate the information and you start to process your traumas and everything that you've been through, then like Kimberly said, like that's when the gifts, your true gifts will come online, is when you start to integrate all the stuff.
Dude, when you believe in yourself. Yeah. Like you have to believe that you're capable, and not just say, oh, that's, like when other people tell you that, there's so many times when we reject that, like when people will say, you're in control of everything. Okay, I say this to people: you're in control of everything that happens to you, but you really are in control of everything that happens to you. I witnessed my boyfriend heal himself twice over the last 5 years, and he's barely in this belief system. Like I've rubbed off on him enough, but you totally saved yourself. You shifted into a different version.
Having to remove myself, right? And finally like acknowledging myself and honoring myself and all the things. But yeah, I could go on forever.
Shauna, do you want to share anything before our special guest joins, or?
I'll just say briefly that for me, it was kind of always there. I grew up with a mom like that. And then really it started in 2013 on a trip to Israel was when I started to kind of wake back up again. And then full integration began around 2017 when I moved to Sedona. And then it's like guns a-blazing. So it's been a long time, and we're in 2025. It's been a lot of years now, is really the point. It's like, it's been a long haul process, and I'm grateful to be at this point, but it does get better. It does get better. And there are less and less dark nights of the soul, but it's a process.
We're just now figuring it out. The beginning of it. Totally. Just the beginning of it. And that's what's fun though. Like if we had all the answers, there would be no point to playing this game.